Okay. Count to 10 and start.
Hello and welcome to this special Results Day broadcast at The Print. All eyes today are on the three northeastern states of Tripura, Meghalaya, and Nagaland. While it seems like in Nagaland, the BJP NDPP government has gone in for a clean sweep. In Meghalaya, as per results that we are getting in now, it looks like it may go in for a hung house. In Tripura, on the other hand, the BJP, as per latest trends, is just inching beyond the magic figure. And that is what we will be talking about today. I just want to remind all our viewers that we still don't have the final results. We are still going on trends that are coming in. And joining us on this discussion today from the Print's political team, we have Abantika Ghosh, who has traveled extensively across Tripura and Nagaland and will be giving us her insights. With us, our two special guests also is Ms. Patricia Mukim, editor of the Shillong Times and known as one of the best voices from the area, and Professor Prasenjit Biswas of the Northeastern Hill University. Thank you, all of you, for joining us. Ms. Mukim, if I can come to you first. We saw the fallout between the Conrad Sangma-led NPP and the BJP before the elections. It looks like Meghalaya is going for a hung assembly. Of course, NPP coming out as the single largest party. From the ground there, what is it you're hearing on which way Conrad Sangma will go? Of course, we also have the Trinamool Congress there, which has emerged as a new player recently after Mukul Sangma left the Congress with about 12 MLAs last year, in 2021, sorry. So how is the politics there going to look like in the next few hours?
Well, it was predictable that the results went along predictable lines. I had said that the NPP and BJP will come together again because there's no other way no other configuration you can think about. The TMC has not done well. Even the UDP has not done very well. So which are the others that can team up to form a stable government? Obviously, it is the NPP which has the largest numbers as of now. I think the numbers are fairly stable as of now. So then they will need the BJP, obviously, because we speak a lot about federalism, but at the end of the day, all the parties in the Northeast need to have a father figure in Delhi, or a mother figure if you want it. So because they need the funds, and then that's like the sort of Damocles that hangs over all these smaller parties. So this was predictable, and even the Nagaland election results were predicted. So there's not much that you can say about government formation. And of course, the pot calling the kettle black, BJP launching such a tirade against the NPP, then calling Meghalaya the most corrupt state in the country. But finally, they'll have to team up, and I don't know how they're able to do it. To me, it looks very stage managed, actually.
Professor Biswas, as Ms. Mukim said, like in Nagaland as well as in Meghalaya, the numbers, reflect what people were thinking before the elections. Of course, there's that bit about NPP and the BJP teaming up after there has been a lot of to and fro between both parties before the elections. If you could tell us a little bit about the Tripura results. As of now, with the numbers that I have, the BJP looks like it's somewhere around 34. I think that's what the NDTV trends are saying. If things go awry, and this is just, it's a hypothetical situation, if things go awry in the next few rounds of voting for the BJP, is Pradyot Manikya going to turn out as the kingmaker?
Yes, in any case, Pradyot Manikya still has a big chance of tilting the result this way or that way, because Pradyot Manikya can develop an equal connection with BJP as well as left in the Congress. Now, which way finally he will go, or he will just be a kind of responsible opposition, that has to be seen only after final figures come out. Now, as far as this 33-34 figure is concerned, That's also in certain places. Fourth round of counting has been done. And leads are very, very close, somewhere around 70-40, like that in some of the 8 seats. So therefore, although count-wise it is BJP's lead, but left and Tripura Motha are very closely following BJP. Therefore, we have to wait for probably another hour to really see, finally what is the count. But for now, we can see that BJP is inching closer to power. But having 1 or 2 seats more than the magic figure of 30 is not going to create a situation in which a healthy political dialogue and advancement of certain policies on a consensus basis can be carried out in a contested political space like Tripura. Political contest will become much more acute, given that there is not much of a difference between opposition and the ruling party. So therefore, Tripura Motha will have a great role to play in the sense that it has a different agenda. Its agenda of highlighting the grievances of tribal people, its agenda of securing certain new necessities and new rights of the tribal people in terms of territorial security, in terms of their ownership of resources, and in terms of enhancing employment in tribal regions of Tripura, actually create a very different understanding of socio-economic development of Tripura, to which left, Congress or BJP have now to adjust their moral compass. So therefore, the situation is pretty interesting. It's not just number. Qualitatively, the situation is yet to stabilize. And till it stabilizes, there's a little bit of X factor and uncertainty. Probably that uncertainty will play out in the coming hours, maybe in next 1.5 hours or so. As far as Meghalaya is concerned, I would just mention one thing. A new party called Voice of People Party has done extremely well. They are nearly getting 4 to 5 seats. And this is something remarkable. A party which has just come out from the ground has secured so much. That's something very interesting. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
If I can just come in on the Motha question first.
Yes, I was just getting you in, Abantika, because you traveled in Tripura. So firstly, is the results that we saw now, is that something that you kind of gauged when you were traveling? And also, if you could please also come in on the Tripura Motha question.
Yeah, right. So, on the Motha question, all of us did stories about how Motha could emerge kingmaker. But as I was looking at the results on the EC website, in constituency after constituency, I actually see it so far playing more of a role of a spoiler. Seats like Vishalgarh, Amorpur, Bamutia, Mohanpur, in all these seats, the difference between the left Congress alliance candidate and the BJP candidate is less than the number of votes polled by Motha. And these are general category seats. So, all these seats were the 22 seats outside the tribal areas where Motha fielded candidates. It has played a very important role. If you want to call it kingmaker, yes, kingmaker, but yes, it has played a very important role in the BJP numbers. And very interestingly, in several ST constituencies, reserved constituencies, Motha actually is trailing BJP. So BJP is winning in seats like Chorilam, Chomoni, these seats which everybody thought. So when we were talking about Motha, it was sort of a done deal that it would win a large number of those 20 seats. It's still winning a large number of 20 of those 20 tribal seats. There's no doubt about that. But it's also true that right now, as per the leads, BJP is actually leading in quite a few of those seats. So yes, that's the Motha question. And when I traveled in Tripura, I saw a lot of angst against the way the BJP government has been run. There's a lot of talk about bike gangs. There's a lot of talk of political violence and all of that. But when I look at the results, I also see a very interesting thing. So like Motha has played spoiler. There are seats where the Motha candidate is the second after BJP, and the votes polled by the alliance candidate are actually more than the difference. So So basically both of them. So the point is that if they had come together, like the attempts had been made, it would have been a different story. But the fact that the opposition once again failed to come together in Tripura shows how BJP is basically, we are just about a year away from 2024. So Tripura has a very important lesson that if opposition continues to be divided, there is no way BJP's wins can be stopped.
Avantika, I'd also like to get you in on Nagaland in a bit, but on the point that you just mentioned on opposition unity, again, it's a big question ahead of the 2024 elections. In Delhi and the rest of we keep talking about whether or not Congress can kind of bring different parties together, whether Congress will take the second seat in some states where, they are not a very strong regional power, and there is a regional party which is doing better against the BJP. So both of you, actually, all three of you, Ms. Mukim, if you could also answer that. We saw what happened to the Congress party in Meghalaya in 2021, right? In the Northeast, specifically, given the results of these three elections, how do you see, what would you have to say about how Congress has performed in these elections?
Congress has performed very badly, and that is because of the coming of the TMC here. If Mukul Sangma and company had remained in the Congress, they would have done better. So the TMC everywhere has become a sort of a spoiler. It did the same in Goa. Now it's the same in Meghalaya. And some of their leaders who are here campaigning are a bit, a little sad about the whole, the way the results have gone. And also, if you talk about opposition unity, there's so much of political egotism. Who is going to lead? And it's about the leadership again, who's going to lead? If you cannot bring out one face, if you cannot come together on that, how do you expect opposition unity? And no party is willing to give ground to, cede ground to anyone. And coming back to Meghalaya again, like Prasanjit said, we have this very brand new party with the very educated members who contested without money. This, despite the huge use of money, power, liquor and all that. There was so much money. And according to the election commissioner here, rupees 51 crores worth of money, drugs and liquor was seized. So that's what was seized. Think of the amount that went into the hands of people. Now, where's all that money coming from? Obviously, it's coming from the public exchequer and possibly from the illegal coal trade. And then the BJP calling Meghalaya corrupt, but not being able to check all these very, very ugly trends. It tells you that, to win, just to be in the seat of power, political parties will do anything. I'm sorry to sound very abysmal, but to sound depressed, but it was depressing to think of a government that was involved in so many scams in the last 5 years: the power scam, the rice scam, and then the Meghalaya dome collapsing. That government should return to power. It's very sad. The only good thing is that the former home minister and the former power minister, he held both those portfolios, was defeated. So maybe that's something to be happy about. But opposition unity, to me, it looks like a very far cry, because look at the way the Congress worked in Meghalaya, the way they mobilized themselves. They first of all, they didn't have the money that the TMC and the BJP had for this huge advertorials and advertising blitzkrieg. They only had press conferences evening after evening, and they expected us to carry their word forward. So we also see that without money, it's impossible to fight elections, at least in the hill states. I don't know how it is in the rest of India.
Professor Biswas, if I could also on that point, like you spoke about the Voice of People Party and how they, did much better given their limited resources. And Ms. Mukim was talking about how there was a sense of a lot of money being spent, a lot of different ways with which voters were being enticed. And previously, she also said when we were talking about the NPP-BJP alliance. He said that regional parties, there is this perception that you need to have a mommy or daddy in Delhi. So in that context, given the results in Meghalaya and in the other two states, that we are seeing, what do you think this says for? We were talking about opposition unity, of course, but what do you think this says for how national parties like the Congress and the BJP, which have an all India footprint, what do you think about how they are operating in the regions of the Northeast now?
Now, you see, as far as Congress party is concerned, it has a huge ground level organization. It's not just in Assam, but also in Tripura, Meghalaya, Nagaland, wherever you go. You have Congress committees active everywhere. But Congress could not buttress a certain agenda that can electorally capture its traditional vote base. Now in Meghalaya, they are having a lead of 5 seats right now, and this lead is going to be stable. Now, if we consider the disaster that Congress has suffered because of moving out of Mukul Sangma and the conflict between Mukul Sangma and Vincent Pala camps, which had put the party in a complete disaster, given that situation, getting 5 seats also is a kind of a prize or a revival. In a sense, tremendous work has been done by Congress party leaders to really get even that 5 seats, which they would not have got otherwise. Now, in case of Tripura also, you see, Congress has mobilized itself quite remarkably well. You can see the main Agartala number 6 seat, which Sudip Roy Burman won, Birjit Sinha won, the Kailasar seat. So you can see prominent leaders of Congress, they have really won. That shows that Congress party still has a certain depth on the ground. So therefore, I won't be that pessimistic in dismissing that Congress doesn't have a base. So therefore, Congress can play a certain national come regional role in the context of Northeast India. Now, the regional leadership of Congress and the national leadership of Congress have to work in a greater coordination, which is not happening. As far as funds in the Congress party is concerned, Congress party already has been in power for 70 years. So they have their own resources and their own sources. I don't know why these resources were not mobilized. Many times they go in a slumber mode. They need to be sort of goaded and poked for really generating them. Now look at the pan-India situation. Congress, after Bharat Jodo Jatra, has done pretty well in terms of recovering itself in Himachal Pradesh. Also in Haryana local elections, we have seen that Congress has recovered itself. So we can see that there is a possibility of Congress and other opposition parties coming together, but on a distinctive regional equation basis. If Congress cannot stitch up this kind of regional equations, it won't be able to form a national opposition unity. That is a problem with the Congress party. But as far as the Meghalaya's local situation is concerned, and a local People's Party, which is very popular, Voice of People's Party is concerned, they have brought in an alternative politics in Meghalaya. In fact, Meghalaya's educated younger generation and people who are concerned about the well-being of this state have come together and voted for an alternative party like Voice of People's Party. It's not exactly a regionalist party. This party has crafted an agenda which concerns the local issues, as well as it has created a platform for discussion among various communities, tribals and non-tribals of Meghalaya. And that has been the key to its success. So that is the other point. As far as Tripura Motha as a spoiler is concerned, and now you see the major opposition parties like Congress and the left have failed to address the issues raised by Maharaja Pradyut Bir Bikram, because the issues that he raised were concerning having a greater autonomy, and if no autonomy is there, then a separate Tripura land. Now, Congress left could not respond to the issue at all. Had they responded in the form of a political understanding with Maharaja, which he was open to, there would not have been a spoiler. So there was much of a communication breakdown between Congress left and Tripura Motha. I hope somehow they recover from this situation, because both the sides need each other at this moment. If they do not come together, nothing is going to be yielded. because it's going to be the repeat of the same last 5 years, and midway again, there will be some kind of an anti-incumbency, again, the same kind of changeover of leadership might happen in Tripura. Too early to predict. But at the same time, there are multiple lobbies within the ruling party in Tripura. Biplab Deb is still very active. Manik Saha and Biplab Deb and Rajiv Bhattacharjee, they have their own lobbies. So it's not very easy for Tripura BJP also to sort of pretend that they are all united and they will have a kind of a smooth timing, smooth sailing time after the elections are over. So therefore, there are these political dynamics that have to be taken into account at this point of time. And that is the qualitative aspect of politics in Northeast India, which I think is very different from turning everything into black and white. The gray shades are very, very important in the case of Northeast India. Yeah.
All right. Avantika, I mean, you, of course, have reported extensively on the talks between the Tripura, Motha, Pradyot and the Left Congress Alliance. And, before the election, that is something that we have reported on. But I would like to bring you in actually on the Nagaland result. You were there very recently, and this is the only of the 3 states where there's been a very, very clear sweep. So, I mean, first, if you could kind of tell our viewers, what were the main issues that that Nagaland voted on, and what is the reason for this very clear sweep, and if you saw it on the ground when you were traveling?
Right. So before I answer your question, I think the highlight of the Nagaland election results this time is that Nagaland Assembly for the first time ever is going to have a woman MLA, and there are 2 others who are leading, 2 other women. So that I think is quite a big deal. And yes, this result is very much along the lines of what I saw, because remember, it's a state that where there's a lot of pending development work. There's a pending Naga political issue. Now, states in the Northeast, I think Patricia mentioned that they do tend to go with the party at the center because there are funds involved, development works involved, and for the Naga political issue again, they need the BJP. The central government has to be the one solving that issue. I mean, 2018 was one on that. Nothing happened. There is a bit of disillusionment. I said this in the morning live also, that there's a bit of disillusionment on the ground that Delhi doesn't really want to solve the issue. But be that as it may, that issue will have to be solved with the party at the center. It cannot be otherwise. So I think these are the reasons. Also, Nefurio has, he's all these corruption charges and all of that, they have not made any significant dent in his popularity. So BJP really see it's the junior partner there. It's the NDPP, it's the NDPP government. BJP is the junior partner. So it's basically Nefurio's victory to that extent. And also, Congress, it's sort of, I think Professor Bishash mentioned resources. Congress does tend to cringe on sort of resources, not just resources in terms of money, but one clear thing is, in both Tripura and Nagaland, when I travel, people ask me this question: why isn't Rahul Gandhi coming here? So, you are a political party. If people want, so I mean, that would be the Congress's call, really, who campaigns for it. But if there is a demand for its best known face to be campaigning there, I suppose it's a fair demand. I mean, there's no, in fact, Congress technically is doing quite well in Tripura. It's doing better than earlier, for whatever it's worth. So yeah, so that these are some of the things that in Nagaland, for example, it fielded Shashi Tharoor as its the Congress president addressed a rally, but it fielded Shashi Tharoor. It raised the corruption issue quite a lot, but it doesn't seem to have made any connection. And also, very importantly, Congress was promising a lot of things, but it didn't even manage to field candidates in all the 60 seats. So we are just talking about 22 seats here. So even if every Congress candidate won, there was no way that Congress manifesto was going to happen. So these are things, and people, these things don't escape the people. So that's why the Nagaland results, I suppose, have turned out the way they have.
Okay. Before we close, I'd just like to ask all three of you that given, I mean, what would your biggest takeaway be from these three results? Given that we have the battle of 2024 coming in, we've of course spoken about this opposition unity. We've spoken about how the Congress is functioning. We've of course spoken about what happened in Meghalaya and how the NPP came back. And even after a fight between the NPP and the BJP, it looks like they will come back to run the government together. So, in terms of politics before 2024, what would be your biggest takeaway from these three results as we can see right now? Of course, they may change in the next hour or so. Ms. Mukim, if you could go first.
See, I want to make one thing very clear, and that is that people here do not vote for political parties. There's very little understanding about the ideology of the party. There's very little reading of the manifestos. So it's all about what do people say and what is the face that is saying it. The face is very important here. And the personal equations that people have with these candidates, with the prospective MLAs, or with the sitting MLAs, these make a lot of dent because there's so much of the urban-rural divide, whether you look at Meghalaya or Nagaland. Who is going to people to explain the ideology of the BJP? It's only this thing about BJP being anti-minority, anti-Christian, and all that, but people don't see it up front happening in the state. So what they don't see, they don't believe in. They think, well, it's just another political party. And that is what, people have been saying from the morning. How did BJP from a toehold get a foothold in Nagaland, in Meghalaya? It's become just another national party also seeking votes. And above all, I think people see the kind of development investments in infrastructure in the state of Assam, which is the neighboring state. Perhaps they also have an aspiration for the same kind of development, because this word Vikas has been repeatedly told to people. And also, we have to admit that never before have so many ministers visited these areas repeatedly to monitor projects, to check out what's happening and what's not happening, and to go beyond the city of Shillong. They've been spread out throughout the rural areas. So they know exactly where the shoe pinches the rural voters. And that's the promise they've made. And that is what perhaps, has caught on. I'm not saying that they have got many votes, but they have succeeded to improve their count. So maybe in 2024, we never know, but we have so few MPs from this region. I wonder if it really makes a huge difference. I think we have a total of 26. Of course, Assam has the bulk of them. If those 26 can come to parliament and give the BJP its strength, maybe that is the reason why they're trying so hard. Otherwise, Mr. Kharge earlier on said, oh, these are small states. We cannot say how they vote, what they vote for. I think that's not the way to look at states. A state is a state, small or big. And I think the BJP, that's where they've crafted their strategy very well.
Professor Bishash?
Yes, I have to say this, that in 2024 election, the whole configuration is going to be very different. It will depend on how opposition parties are combining at the national level, and corresponding to that, there will be alliances and there will be new kind of alignments of forces across the Northeast. Now, as far as Assam model of development is concerned, right now there is a lot of dissent because there is a lot of bulldozer kind of,
the same kind happening in Uttar Pradesh.
Same kind of happening in Uttar Pradesh. There's a copycat politics is happening in Assam. And that is creating a lot of dissension, a lot of reaction in Assam. So it's not the case that Assam model is to be emulated across the Northeast. Nagaland is a very different case. The 70 years long Naga political issues and Naga political struggle is still not resolved. Now, Naga politicians are good at doing patchwork. So they did a patchwork in a manner that there is almost no political opposition in Nagaland, giving us a strong signal that it is something underground, which is not seen from the kind of parliamentary democracy that we have, that determines what kind of forces will come over in Nagaland. So Nagaland case is very different. It doesn't go with Assam or with Tripura. As far as Tripura is concerned, Tripura has these strong ideological blocks. Now, ideological blocs have their own limitations. They are not able to negotiate with identity politics. The kind of identity politics that Hindutva politics brings in, the kind of fear that Hindutva politics can create in the majority Bengali Hindu masses, the kind of Hindu-Muslim politics that it can create, and the kind of alienation of tribal on the other side can happen. And also, you can see the rehabilitation of Blues of Mizoram, the kind of response it had created among various communities. So you have that multi-ethnic configuration in Tripura, especially in the hill region, and then regions that are contiguous to the hill region. So therefore, there should be a stronger political negotiation between political forces in settling impending, pressing political issues, especially issues about ethnic identity, ethnic rights, and also about responding to the national issues in terms of development, in terms of employment, in terms of the aspirational aspect of economy, which is not very strong in case of Tripura. As far as Tripura's connection with Bangladesh is concerned, it is because of Bangladesh. A lot of development activity in Tripura as part of the Act East policy has been pretty successful. Now, an advantage has to be taken of this in the respective territories and areas where political forces are working. Now, how much they will be able to do that, on that also the later situation will develop. For now, one is content with the prospect that BJP will come back to power in Tripura, and BJP will have their leadership, and they will lead the state, and there will be an opposition which is not far away in terms of number from whatever BJP gains today in Tripura. So therefore, it's a very interesting situation, and situation is still developing. There will be many more alignments of political forces. The new entrants in the scenario are TMC, even BPP party, and many other smaller regional forces. They will settle and unsettle whatever has been taken for granted. So I see the region emerging as a hotly contested political region in terms of having this 25 MP seats, each of which will throw a very distinct picture depending on the area where it is located. So one cannot generalize or oversimplify about it. That's it.
Thank you, Professor Biswas. Abantika, last comments from you. And yes, of course, your takeaway, but just one tiny point I also want you to mention while you're making your concluding remarks, that, all day on television today, we've heard so much about how the BJP is a different party in North India and it is a different party in Northeast. For example, in Northeast, they're never going to talk about beef eating or cow slaughter and all of that. And as Ms. Mukim said, right, in the politics there is very different. It's not so much party-based, but on the basis of candidates, there is a personal relationship that the electorate shares with their MLAs. So just based on that, and I'm asking from the perspective of a national party, is BJP being smart in how it is going about its things in the Northeast?
BJP is the smartest and most agile political player we have seen in this country in a long, long time. I don't think anybody needs to say that. And yes, they have recalibrated their stances time and time again, depending on local sensibilities. So yes, BJP certainly is that. But the two key takeaways, and they're not really novel ones, I mean, they've been merely reinforced in these elections, is one, obviously, like I earlier made, about opposition unity. And the second point, I think that's been very forcefully made, is that corruption as a political plank does not work. People don't really care about corruption. It seems they don't care about corruption allegations against their leaders. They would vote for them nevertheless. So those two are the main political takeaways. And I would just like to add one thing about this hotly contested Tripura election that Professor Biswas was talking about. I have a very real fear that post these elections, there are already incidents of violence in Shanti Bajar. Post this election, Tripura is going to see a lot of violence. That is a very real fear because of how hotly contested this has been and how close the numbers will eventually, they look like they will eventually be very close. That's the most important thing, I think, today in the Tripura elections, what will happen next on the streets.
All right, Avantika, Professor Vishwas, Patricia Mukim, thank you so much for joining us on this broadcast.
Can I say can I make one more
Yes, sure,
point?
ma'am. Sure. Please go ahead.
So there is this sense of fear among the tribes of Meghalaya that if the BJP were to lead the government in Meghalaya or in Nagaland, there's a real fear that they might bring in the CAA. They might bring in the Uniform Civil Code, and by then we will not have any say in the matter. So this is also, it hangs over us like the sword of Damocles.
All right. Thank you so much for bringing in that insight, ma'am. As I said, all of you can join us. We are still closely watching the numbers at the print, and we will be bringing you more reports and more live sessions through the rest of the day. As of now, thank you so much for watching.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.